Section 1 is infographic. And Spain is located at the south of France and Andorra and to the east of Portugal. It has coastline on the Bay of Biscay, a part of the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. Spain is located on the Iberian Peninsula in the southwest corner of Europe. For the socio-economic facts, before Islamic rule, Spain's economic growth was low and appeared poor and underdeveloped compared with other countries. The king cruelly oppressed his people by forced slavery, rape and suppressed poor families. The medical care was largely provided by priests, which are hard for people to get health care. During Islamic rule, Al-Andalus economic flourished as it improved its manufacturing ability and began to participate fully in exporting products. Islamic civilization spread the spirit of justice, impartiality and tolerance among people. Hence, people started to live together in safety, peace and mutual respect. Islamic doctors developed new techniques in medicine, dissection, surgery and pharmacology. So, for the education advancement, before usually started with the education of children in the family by parents and relative or private tutor from distant land at times slave. In ancient Greece, primary and secondary education was in the hand of the pedagogues, preceptors or magister. Teachers were in charge of teaching the young the basic notion of language, Latin and Greek, as well as literature, rhetoric and philosophy. After, children started to attend public school, especially at primary level, 6 until 12 years old. Important Islamic academies were found in Muslim Spain, especially in the city of Cordoba. In these academies, education originated mostly from close studies of the commentaries of the Quran and philology. Sephardi Jews in Spain were heavily affected by Islamic educational ideas and shifted their focus to intellectual, scientific and linguistic topics. The last part of the infographic, knowledge development, before, less attractive architecture and beautiful artistic elements are absorbed into the art of building as well as having low quality and not durable. Education was governed and controlled for the most part by municipalities, town council and by the church through the teaching effort of religious order. Only a small number of universities can be accessed by the people, especially for the lower class, because of the price of fees and opportunities that are usually only given to the rich and the upper class, as well as lack of knowledge in mathematics and science. For after buildings were constructed and Islamic art with its specific qualities was cultivated. Numerous schools and libraries were established and books were procured, due to which the majority of the people were literate. The university in Cordoba was the home of science, and a great number of scholars and scientists in medicine, pharmacy, chemistry, astronomy, mathematics, and botany. These scientific and civilizational movements spread into other cities of Spain, such as Granada, Toledo, and other cities under Islamic rule.
Next, we start to section 2, the rising and climax plot. Julian, Count of Ceuta, came to Egypt and met Egypt governor Musa bin Nusair to convince him to go to Andalusia to free them from the rule of gods. Musa bin Nusair had commanded 12,000 soldiers to conduct a reconnaissance expedition in Andalusia, led by Tariq bin Ziyad. The Muslim army had landed in a hilly area that has been named as Jabal Tariq, and nowadays we call it as Gibraltar. Tariq bin Ziyad had commanded to burn the ships, so they have no choice but shahid or win the war. Islam is growing and the people of Andalusia embrace Islam because they like and know the way of life that has been taught by Islam.
Ayatization. Based on Surah Baqarah verse 249, we know that Allah will give wind to the people that have faith to Him and always trust Him. After Muslim army has arrived in Jabal Tariq and they will face Goth army which are numerous than them, Tariq bin Ziyad has commanded to burn the ship and said, "We will not return home as long as we win or get shahid," and finally the success win the battle.
For the climax, since the region of Abdurrahman III in 819 Masehi, Cordoba has grown into Europe's finest intellectual center with renowned libraries and institutions. And for instance, the ulama and scholars that came from Andalusia, which is Ibn Hazm, Al-Qurtubi and Ibn Rushd. Andalusia has developed from nothing to one of the world's most crucial location and developed into an entry port. The structure of government in Muslim government is tidier and stronger because it is based in Islamic teachings compared to the God's religion that based of desire and only give benefit to the government only.
Based on Surah An-Nisa verse 135, Allah said that we should be persistently standing firm in justice. The government of Umayyad has followed the same flow as the Umayyad structure in Arab Peninsula. The Muslim community will follow the hudud rule that have been told in Quran and Hadith and rule made by Caliphate. While for non-Muslim community, they will follow their own religion rule.
In the 8th century, the Muslim Umayyad Caliphate conquered most of the Iberian Peninsula. Christians had reconquered most of Spain by the late 15th century, leaving the Emirate of Granada as the only Moor or Muslim territory left. From the disputes over the inheritance of the leadership, the unrest of royal children took place. Abu Abdullah's attitude of losing consideration and dissatisfaction with the inheritance of the throne decided by his father caused him to rebel and be willing to sacrifice his father's life. But Abu Abdullah's greed did not go away. Even plans were made in the form of cooperation with King Ferdinand to reclaim the throne. The Caesar was successful. In short, Abu Abdullah was able to occupy the throne, but for a relative period due to the pressure from Ferdinand to obtain a bounty. The conquest of Granada in 1492 meant that the Iberian Peninsula was unified under Christian law, though it still consisted of distinct kingdoms. Muslims were killed with the blessing of the Pope and some were expelled from Andalusia. Even some of them continued to be fought again and again despite being ready to leave Andalusia. From the Sahih Bukhari Book 94, Hadith 7235, our Prophet Rasulullah advised us that leadership is a responsibility that can lead to a remorse. Abu al-Hassan, the 21st Nasrid ruler of Granada, abandoned his wife Aiza to marry a Castilian Christian slave with whom he had two sons. His son Azia, Muhammad rebelled against him in 1482 and was recognized as Sultan. Abu al-Hassan succeeded in capturing the capital but deposed by his brother Al-Zaghal. On Muhammad's first military venture, 1483, against the Castilians, he was captured and to be released. He promised to give Castilians one of his domain. The death of their father in 1495 enabled Muhammad to reoccupy the Alhambra. In 1491, Al-Zaghal surrendered the territory under his command to the Castilians and emigrated. Muhammad, holding only the town of Granada, was now in a hopeless position. After a siege that had begun in 1491, he too surrendered on January 2, 1492. From the explanation above, we could identify that one of the major reasons of falling tragedy of the last Muslim city in Spain is the greediness of the rulers to have the authority.
The first general lessons learned from the chronological events of the Muslim Empire in Spain is related to knowledge. Being an educated Muslim should be our priority in order to compete in modern global developments. Muslims in the glorious times of Islamic civilization was known as the Greek intellectuals. Thus, we, as a Muslim nowadays, must take an open-minded attitude to keep up with the progress of global science and technology. The second lesson is related to the openness or welcoming attitude that had been practiced widely in Islamic civilization. Muslims in the golden age of Islamic culture accept any information coming from the outside and welcome anybody who wanted to visit the land. This led to a new information to flow into the Muslim lands and benefit all humanity. Second one is Muslims today need to focus on emphasizing the well-being of relations among Muslims and should do their best to avoid the occurrence of animosity and fights between fellow Muslims. In order to repeat the Muslim victories in the past, we need to avoid misunderstandings in small and insignificant matters that will affect the relationship among Muslims. Lastly is about the mistakes committed by the empire that should not be repeated by this generation. Early in the 11th century, the single Islamic Caliphate had shattered into a score of small kingdoms. The fall of Islamic control in Spain was caused not only by increased Christian invasion but also disputes among Muslim rulers.